Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, where you will find interesting guests and discussions about cutting-edge topics to assist you on your journey. The Quantum Guide Show is ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those who feel isolated by their newfound beliefs. The mind, body, and spirit thrive when we have a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change that we wish to see in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels, and share this show with your friends. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show, episode 118. So today I had an amazing guest lined up, Eliza Mayora, and she was going to tell us all about plant-based pregnancy and childbirth, and also how to have an immaculate conception. But unfortunately, a friend of hers got into a car accident right before the show, and she had to go and offer support to her friend and couldn't make it. So it's just little old me again today. And so I am going to draw on another lesson from the Quantum Health Transformation Program. This time it's step 2, and it's about how to make contact with your higher self, or your higher selves, or your spiritual guides. Now, I want to say right from the beginning, how you contact your guides is actually a personal decision and a personal experience. But there are a whole bunch of things that are holding us back from being able to hear that small, quiet voice, or to be able to detect that there are beings that are here for our assistance. So without further ado, I am going to go into a screen share and screen share my lesson. Okay, so those of you who have watched the episodes before, taken from the Quantum Health Transformation Program, are familiar with this image. It's basically the 9 steps as I have organized the information. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, I received this information as a download back around 2012, 2013, and it was about that time that I was having some very interesting paranormal experiences. And then when I got this download, it was just so intense. It was so much information. I received it in a moment. And then it started to unfold, and I started to just be motivated to do different things to gather information, but it had to be very specific information. And so I did my best to present it in the 9 steps. So this is actually taken from the original, but it's also the 2.0. I'm now working on a 3.0 as things have changed very rapidly, especially in the last 3 years, to help it to be really relevant to you and your journey. So as you can see here, I have 9 steps. They're loosely associated with the chakras. And the first step is actually the 9th step. So you'd start with step 9, black, and you would learn how to use the nubby ball tool. I have one here. I'm not sure if it will show up because of my background. This is just a little sphere, and it's covered in a whole bunch of nubs. And I use this as a conceptual tool to help you understand the greater context of things. So I'm not going to get into that today, but you can go back and check out one of my other podcasts to learn how to use that. Then we went into step 8, which I call red, which is grounding and the birth of new core belief systems. So you have to take a look at your life and decide what's working, what's not working, what are you believing, and how is that maybe not the best fit now than what it was when you first acquired that belief. Then there's orange, where we work on developing those core belief systems further, and male-female integration. Now, let me just explain a little bit about that. Now, we go back to step 9, which you do first. It's a foundation for step 8. Think of it as you're building a tower with each step. So when you start off with step 9, you're also going to learn how to use the Nubby Ball tool to do your own shadow work, finding out, discovering the shadow. Everybody believes and wants to believe that we're living in the light and love all the time, but the truth of the matter is we actually have a shadow, and probably the majority of our personality is actually captured within the shadow. And if we're not looking at it, we're not developing into full human beings. And we're also missing more than half the information that we need so that we can integrate the shadow and the light, so that we can really be armed and really have all the tools and information we need so that we can proceed. So similar to that, in step 7, we have the male-female integration. So those of you who are not familiar with, say, concepts like yin and yang, the left side of the body is actually governed by our female energies, and the right side of our body is actually governed by our male energies. And we need to take advantage of both of those energies and use them together to, again, be fully human and to really have the kind of tools and skills and knowledge and wisdom that we need to proceed and to have healthy, happy, and productive lives. Step 6 was all about detoxification and the power of emotions. So in this step, which is very, very beefy, we go into how to externally detoxify. You learn what products you might be using, personal care products, might be things to clean your home, cleaning products, all kinds of things are so toxic. And if you don't know about them, you might be using them and making yourself very, very ill, and also suppressing your true self and your true spirituality. So I teach you how to make all those kind of products for yourself, which will basically cost pennies compared to the dollars you're spending on those products from the store. And I also will teach you internal detoxification, which means basically a lot of the things that we're thinking are food and we're consuming are actually causing us to become ill and are seriously holding us back. And then, of course, there is an emotional detoxification, which is all about how to make all of your emotions work for you. There are no good or bad emotions. I have found in my experience is absolutely a lie that if we investigate or spend time examining or even being aware of our lower emotions, that this will somehow keep us from awakening or from ascension or from our evolution as human beings and from reaching our spiritual potential. And I found that's not true at all. The emotions are all there to serve us, and they all serve a purpose. Getting on to step 5, it's food is medicine and another source of universal love energy. So a lot of people are not familiar with the amount of energy that comes from the sun is trapped in plants and animals when they're cared for and they're grown and they're looked after appropriately. And that feeds the body, as well as what is food and how can it serve us and help us to become more well, and also how to be aware of the pitfalls. Step 4, blue, is understanding the power of heuristics and speaking your truth. You can't speak your truth until you find your truth. And you won't find your truth until you have done the previous steps or similar work, and until you get to the point where you've stepped outside of the construct. And now you're thinking for yourself and your emotions and your perceptions. You're validating your perceptions. And quite a few of us are having paranormal perceptions that the mainstream society says, oh, that's not true, or you're crazy. Those things are absolutely true and real. And we can find them when we do the work to uncover them. Indigo, step 3 is understanding and using perception within the construct and manifesting change. Seeing is believing. And I actually did cover this material in last week's quantum guide show, because my guest was short notice, unable to attend last week. Now, when guests don't appear on the show as they're scheduled to, it doesn't mean that they've just backed out. Often it can be technical issues, Wi-Fi going down, like is what happened with Veda Austin last week. And then, of course, this week, my guest couldn't come because her friend got into a very serious car accident just before the show. So in those cases, I just step in and I bring my information. So last week, I covered step 3. Go back and watch it. I think you'll find it very interesting. It's all about how to create and thrive while you're doing it. And then this week is step 2, integration with your higher selves. So I'm going to talk about what are your higher selves, your guides, how can you reach them, but probably most important, we're going to cover all the basics of all the things that we're doing, perceiving and believing that might be holding us back from contact with our higher self and with our higher guides. And then the final and last step is step 1, where I teach you how to create a state of bliss and how to do spiritual exercises, which will change your world rather profoundly. I found that each time I did one of these exercises, I didn't get the results I expected, but I found that from I don't know where it comes from, but I found that when I did those exercises, my life changed dramatically. And I found that I was able to see the hidden potential in all kinds of things that I was previously missing. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead, watch this show. I think you'll find it interesting. But when you go back and you do step 9, step 8, step 7, all the way up, you're going to find your life is going to change very, very dramatically in a positive way. So the other thing is this program is absolutely free. I received it free and I reproduced it into slideshows and also live action videos. And they're all available on my website. So I do encourage you to check them out and take advantage of them and share this information with your family, your friends, anyone who you think would benefit from it. And basically, that is the 9 steps to quantum health transformation. And I just want to remind everybody that, as I just stated, the lessons are actually presented in descending order, or is it ascending order? I don't know. You start at step 9 and you work your way up to step 1. I also want to tell you that a lot of this information came to me. I don't even know where it came from. Well, I do know I received it in a download. I don't know specifically where that came from, but I do believe it came from the Living Library, which is also known as the Akashic Records. And I want you all to know that I'm not an expert. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a scientist. I am simply a fellow seeker of knowledge and wisdom. And although this program works really well for me, I encourage you to take a look at it with an open mind, but please do not believe that this is the only program that works. It's not. There are many other programs out there. And I actually encourage you to cafeteria style shop for what you want and what fits and resonates with you, and just throw the rest away, because there is really no wrong way of doing this as long as you are resonating with the information. And the other thing I wanted to say is that it's not copyrighted. So if you want to share this, if you want to use this material and mix it in with your own content, you're totally okay to do that. I do request, though, that you give me credit for the information that you take from my program. And but besides that, go for it. This is information that's here to help heal humanity and raise our consciousness. I'll say a little disclaimer. This video and the information found on our YouTube channel and website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, is presented as is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for the diagnosis, treatment, or advice of a qualified licensed medical professional. And the information that is the information presented in this video is offered as information only, not as medical advice, and in no way should anyone infer that we or I am practicing medicine. And so I recommend that you seek the advice of a medical professional for proper application of this material to specific situations. No statement here or on the above mentioned website has been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the CFIA, the Department of Health Canada, or any other regulatory authority. Any product or service mentioned or described in this video or on this channel is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We recommend that you do your own independent research before you purchase anything. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So because I do primarily, well, it's not primarily, I post everywhere equally, but I post first to YouTube, and then it gets picked up by Rumble, and it gets picked up by Odyssey, and then it goes out into the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, and also shows up on Twitter and oodles of other places like Signal, etc. So and Telegram. So I'm not hard to find, that's for sure. But I just want to stay in good standing with the different platforms so that I can continue to produce my podcasts and have them available for you to see. So without further ado, Quantum Health Transformation 2.0, integration with higher selves, and this is taken from the primer. These primers are also available on my website. I do charge $3.99 each for the PDFs so that you can download them and use them. And the advantage of downloading and using them is that they have all the links. So everything I talk about, there's a link on where you can just click it and go right to the products or the different steps or whatever it is that I'm including the links for. So that's the advantage to that. So what do I mean by higher selves? So you've seen or heard me refer to my spirit guides, the Akashic records, and the living library. But if you have not developed a framework which includes these concepts, they might not make much sense to you. I'll do my best to explain these concepts in non-religious universal terms from my own experience. And first of all, I would like to say that this knowledge has nothing to do with religion or religious beliefs. The following information neither negates nor replaces your religious or your spiritual beliefs. If your religious beliefs are working for you, then there's no need to remove them from your lifestyle. Yeah, this has nothing to do, it's very spiritual, but it has nothing to do with religion. So my perspective is physiological, psychological, sociological, and spiritual in nature. So before we can really get into how to contact your spiritual guides, your body is basically an incredible piece of technology. It's amazing and miraculous in so many ways. And it houses our conscious self and our subconscious self, but our subconscious self is actually much bigger than what a lot of us know it to be. And it's something that we only have a tiny, tiny tip, like this image of the iceberg, where the conscious compared to the subconscious, conscious mind does not hold very much information at all, at least at any one particular time. So it's my belief that the contact actually occurs within the subconscious, which I think is partly housed in the human body and partly housed in realms we are not aware of. So it's important to grasp how complex the subconscious mind is. Your mind can be illustrated by an enormous iceberg image. Only the tip of the conscious arena is within our awareness, and the rest makes up our subconscious, which is a vast section mostly hidden from us. This includes every experience that we've ever had, all of the details taken in by all of our senses, and more. This volume of information would make conscious thought impossible, and awareness would be unbearable. So we develop a gatekeeping system that I call the locator, to feed us bits of the whole so that we can make best use of our hidden data. So, can you imagine if you were able to just consciously become aware at this very moment of all your body functions, your heart beating, your breathing, every single detail of what your eyes are taking in the room around you, every sound that's coming to your ears, every sensation, whether it's the mouse or just the fabric on your clothes, everything all at once would completely overwhelm you and you wouldn't be able to function. And so what I want to do now is take a look at what programs this locator, what decides what information is going to come in and what information is not relevant. And so that's where we're going to start off today. Your higher self is you without the constraints and the insanity of the conscious mind. So just as you care about yourself, your subconscious mind cares too, because it is a part of you. So your subconscious mind, whether you love it or hate it, it's there trying to serve you. And to its best ability, it's ascertaining what you want to see, what you want to have come into your realm, and it actually is there to serve you. But it's more than that. It also is connected to your higher self, which exists in the spiritual realms. And your higher self absolutely cares about you and loves you very much. Your higher self has the ability to bring you learning experiences when they're needed for your highest good. And the subconscious can also alter your locators. So your locators are not stuck for all time. We can change them. And when we change them, that's at the heart of manifestation. We see opportunities we didn't know were there before. We start to become aware of sensations and communication from our spirit guides, from our higher self. And then we can respond appropriately. So let's take a look at what affects the locator within ourselves. So who sets up the parameters of our locators? We do. This simplistic diagram illustrates how we influence our locators, and you will soon see how one of the most powerful ways to influence the system is through the 9 steps to quantum health transformation. So for those of you on audio only, I will just describe the diagram. So in the center, there's a hexagram, 6-sided, hexagram, which indicates that's your gatekeeper or your locator for all the information. So what's programming that locator to see some things and not see other things? Well, the first thing is distractions and addictions. Distractions and addictions keep us from being fully present and really tapped in to the body, to the mind, to our spirituality, and they really can keep us from really progressing. Next, we have the physical brain health. So if your brain is not healthy, you're not able to process data the way you could if your brain was healthy. And an unhealthy brain or a healthy brain are both sending signals to the subconscious, programming it on what it's going to see and what it's not going to see, or what it's going to perceive and not perceive. Next, we have learned experiences. So our learned experiences very much affect our attitudes, and we'll say more about that later on in the lesson. But, if you've had a certain experience in your life and it's been holding you back, that's because it's taught you a lesson that at the time is meant to keep you safe, but in the long run might just be holding you back. Next, we have culture and morality. So the culture we're born into and the morality that we subscribe to will absolutely affect the gatekeeper or the locator that we use to perceive of what's possible and what's not possible. And then sort of stemming from that, we've got rules and laws, and rules and laws absolutely affect the gatekeeper or the locator. And then finally, there are our personal beliefs and our attitudes, which I think are maybe the most powerful ways that we can affect the gatekeeper, also known as the locator. So we'll get a little bit more into all of this as we go through the lesson. So what influences our locators and our awareness? Now we're going to take another look at heuristics. For those of you who want to know more about heuristics, you need to go to the Quantum Health Transformation Step 4 primer and the live videos. And again, they are offered on my website, and they're also available under playlists on my YouTube channel. So heuristics are our trial and error feedback system from which we self-learn how to get along, what we want in this reality, and how to best achieve it. So to maximize this process for best results, again, go back and watch the Quantum Health Transformation 2.0, Step 4 primer and live videos. So if you have an experience in life, for instance, I'll give you an example from my own life. When I was younger, I reached out to pet a dog and it bit me. And so ever since then, I've been kind of afraid of dogs, especially big dogs. And especially the dogs with the big jaws, because they could literally break my limbs. But really, none of that's real or true today. But because of that learning experience, I tend to shy away from big dogs. And that would be another example of how the heuristics or my learning experience has actually affected my subconscious, so that I get that signal to avoid big dogs. But the same is true, even if it's for ways to make money, bring abundance in your life, ways of finding love, anything. It works on the same principle. So now I'm going to talk a bit about physical brain health. Your health absolutely does affect your subconscious, conscious interplay. Our physical and emotional selves generate a harmonic frequency, which influences what we are capable of on a non-physical or energetic level and affects the receiver wavelength of our conscious capacities. This controls accessibility to the Akashic records, which is also known as the living library, our spirit guides, and more. To maximize your physical health and two-way communication with your subconscious mind, watch my Quantum Health Transformation 2.0 Step 6 and Step 5 primer and live videos. And for those of you on audio, I've got two images here. One is an image of the inside of someone's head, and instead of their brain, it's all fruits and vegetables. And the other image is foods to eat for a healthy brain. And some of the examples are carrots, pumpkin seeds, figs, almonds, edamame, apples, avocados, cacao beans, bananas, berries, hemp seeds, broccoli, millet, oranges, coffee beans, walnuts, olives, sweet potatoes, mushrooms, spinach, black beans, flax seeds, squash, chia seeds, coconut, collard, quinoa, wild rice, romaine, chickpeas, chard, can't read that one. I don't know if it's supposed to be lettuce, and lentils. So what's not on this list? Well, McDonald's is not on this list, and Wendy's and Arby's and all the other fast food places, they're not on this list. You need real food to fuel and feed a real brain. And until you do that, you're not able to produce the chemicals and decalcify the pineal gland and do all of those things that open us up for spiritual communication, and also to effectively communicate with the subconscious. There's many ways that we can do that. So now I want to talk a little bit about belief systems and attitudes. So for those of you on audio, I'll just describe the images. The first one says, attitude changes everything. And the next image is of two children crossing a bridge with their guardian angel looking after them. The other image is of the heavenly host of angels. And the next image is a First Nations man with his peace pipe and his wolf spirit. Because there are so many ways of doing this. You don't have to stick to any one belief system or attitude. So many people believe in the assistance of angels, ancestors, or higher self, the Christ or Buddha consciousness, etc. The difference between possibility and impossibility lies in your belief system and your attitudes. To improve or upgrade your beliefs and your attitudes, I recommend you watch the Quantum Health Transformation 2.0, Steps 9, 8, and 7 primer and live videos. So, for instance, if you don't believe in the spiritual realms, you're unlikely to call upon your guardian angel. If you don't believe in the Great Spirit or your totem spirit, chances are it's not going to be there for you. And if you have an attitude that heaven is all a lie and angels don't exist, then that's not anything you're going to find in your life. And another example is if you don't believe ETs are real, chances are they're not going to invest any time or energy into you, and I don't blame them. So your belief systems and your attitudes, very important. And I would say this is one of the most powerful systems for changing that locator that's in your subconscious mind that decides what you're going to be aware of and what you're not. So for instance, when I was adhering to different religions, and this is no disrespect to religion, but when I was adhering to different religions that said, oh no, any spiritual contact you're aware of, that's all demons, I was scared. I shunned the beautiful messages that my higher self and my spiritual guides were trying to share with me. I kept shunning them and shutting them off because I was afraid. It wasn't until I became more open-minded and freed myself of dogma and religion that I was able to open up and understand what some of these amazing possibilities are. And again, I'm not bashing religion. If it's working for you, go for it. I mean, people who are Catholic and they go and they talk to Mary and they do homage to Mother Mary, they get just as good a results as someone else who may want to make contact with their higher self or one of their ancestors. There's really no way, correct or wrong way of slicing and dicing this. The big thing is to have a healthy body and mind so that you can make contact. So I mentioned this before, culture and morality. So from the moment of conception, we begin to become socialized by the culture and morality of our parents and their community. So this is both inherited and an experience phenomena. This is a framework on which hangs all the learning we will do while we are alive. This framework is shaped by our socio-political economic construct, and it serves us, but only up to a point. Sometimes within our lifetime, we begin to experience and notice things that we do not have language for or are considered forbidden knowledge. And I would add to that things that cause us cognitive dissonance. These experiences and knowledge are often censored by the ruling class, who have a strong effect on the scientific community, historically limiting research in the forbidden arena. And I'm happy to say that this is rapidly changing. And I recommend to maximize or upskill your cultural and your moral program, watch the Quantum Health Transformation Steps 9, 8, and 7, primers and live videos. Let me just get a little bit more into this. So you're born into a family, you're born into a culture, regardless of where you live, you're born into that, and you adopt it, and you function from it as a framework throughout your life. But what often happens, and especially the last 3 years, people are going, okay, there's something wrong with this picture. There's something wrong with what we're being told. Thank goodness for social media, where we're getting tons of interesting information about all kinds of things that we never dreamed were even real or possible. So there's that. But there's also just the fact that we may be having some paranormal experiences, or we may find that we're aware of things before they happen, or we're having spontaneous knowledge, or all kinds of things could be happening. Well, those things wake us up, unless we go to the psychiatric industry and we block it all with pills. And I actually did try to do that for a while, back when I was still using fear-based thinking. But eventually I realized there was nothing to be afraid of, and I got off all of that stuff. And then I started having much better spiritual experiences. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you to ditch your medication. You need to decide that with your health professional. That's not something I would ever tell you to do. I'm just telling you what I did and what worked for me. And that's really it. The other thing too is knowledge has been very censored throughout time. those of you who are familiar or know your way around the conspiratorium, you'll know that beneath the Vatican, they have vast, vast, vast areas full of ancient manuscripts and documentation that goes against the mainstream narrative. And so it's kept hidden and it's kept away from us. That's why we call it forbidden knowledge. So anyway, but usually I find what happens sometime in your life, you'll have a crisis, you'll have a health crisis, there might be a political crisis, something will happen and you'll start to crack open and realize the world is not what you thought it was. And when we first start out, this can be kind of scary. And so I just want you to know that available on my website are some services. I call them vital services. And I have quite a bit available for people who are just awakening, or perhaps people that are having paranormal experiences and they don't have anyone to talk to, or they're people that perhaps have been abducted by extraterrestrials, or perhaps they're just experiencers where it's a very mutual arrangement. There's all kinds of things that people are going through now, and where do you go to get help with these things? So I do offer services. I do have a degree in social work and a diploma in gender studies. So I am aware of how to do family counseling and how to be a good support person for you or someone that you may know who may be a little bit stuck in this area. So at the time of this making, I said, I am happy to say that this is rapidly changing, meaning that truth is no longer really being hidden. I would say today that's true and it's not true. So from a mainstream or a legacy media perspective, oh, no, everything is being hidden more than it was 5 years ago. But from social media, although you have to use critical thinking because not everything on social media is helpful or based in reality, but still we're able to find out about all kinds of things, from ancient megalithic structures to artificial, artificial soil. So many ancient technologies that are just mind-blowing. And so you might be going, well, wait a minute, how come we don't have any of this today? And they could do all of that, 10, 20, 40, 50,000 years ago. Good question. So now I think actually we're in a time where truth is being hidden again. So I don't know what else to say about that. Rules and laws are created for social order and follow culture and morality very closely. Some are necessary and some are obsolete, but they are there and they affect our conscious awareness and our locators. So a good example of that is 3 years ago when we ended up with our whole worlds all being shook up and life being very different than anything we ever thought would be possible or what we could see coming. And it absolutely did affect the locators. So you can see people even today now that people are no longer required to follow mandates. Although in Canada, I got to tell you, mandates are alive and real. You may not hear about them, but they're here. And what these mandates have done is they've actually changed people's perceptions, and it's changed the information that they have coming into them. So for instance, if somebody used to love to go out shopping and they just spent the whole afternoon looking at stuff, window shopping or buying a few things they need, well, after the last 3 years, there's now people who are terrified to go shopping because their beliefs were shaped by the rules and the laws, let's just call them mandates. And now they have a very different perception. So their locators, instead of allowing in all this helpful information, they're allowing in all kinds of things that perpetuate the fear to keep those people, safe. Really, that's what the subconscious is trying to do. But the locators were programmed from day in and day out, programming from forces that didn't have our best interests at heart. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So depending on where we live, we may experience little flexibility with our choices when it comes to rules and laws. But either way, since knowledge is power, I suggest that you consider the information in my Quantum Health Transformation Step 9 primer and live video. And I've got some images here. I've got some scales with right on the one side and wrong on the other, and some books stacked up with a gavel on top that says laws and rules. And then on the other image, there's a person thinking rules, compliance, standards, review, codes, procedures, audits, laws, guidelines, and then back to rules again. All of these things affect the conscious mind that is inadvertently programming and informing the subconscious on what it wants to know and what it wants to see. So the other thing that's so important is taking a look at our distractions and our addictions. So those of you who are listening to this on audio, I've got an image that's got a gambling wheel and a cupcake with a bunch of icing on it, cigarettes, pills, dice, and of course, computer technology. Another image has a woman with more bags than anyone could actually carry from going shopping. Another image is a woman eating some kind of a hamburger, and it's showing the effect that the chemicals in fast foods are affecting her brain. And then, of course, there's the cell phone. I personally do battle with that addiction every single day. It's almost like every time I hear a ping, I think, oh, I have to go and look in case it's important. Or I'll go on my phone to check the weather, the time, and next thing you know, I'm down the rabbit holes of Facebook. So that's something that I have to discipline myself. And for those of you who think you send me a text message, I'm going to get back to you right away. Maybe not, because I'm limiting my screen time. The body thrives when it has a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change we wish to see in the world. Sometimes, though, we need a little help from consultation and support services. Have you discovered that this world is not what you thought it was? Have recent global events awakened you and leave you feeling unsettled? Do you feel isolated with your not-so-popular newfound beliefs? Would you like to learn to thrive in this new state of awareness? It is a big shock to wake up and find that the old familiar world is gone, and it can be disturbing to go down the various rabbit holes only to find that the information is difficult to digest, and few people are willing to talk openly about it. You are not a conspiracy theorist. You are awakening, and once you find your way through it, there are many blessings on the other side. My name is Karen Holton, and I offer vital services that may be just what you need, and support for your journey into the weird and wonderful. Check out my Awakening Support and Ascension consultation, created to support individuals with their chosen alternative realities and lifestyles, health and recovery, and spiritual adventures. For more details, check out the various vital services found on my website, and be assured that I have found personal success with every category featured. My website is www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. This one another image here, and it has like sticky notes, and in the center it says to do, and then it says on top everything, and then on the side everything, and underneath everything, and on the other side everything, because we think we have to do all these things, and they can keep us super distracted. And of course, we get addicted to them, literally biochemically addicted to them. And when you're addicted to something, believe me, your locators are highly primed to see ways of getting what you're addicted to, or to keep on top of the news. And those things are programming your locators so that you're just going to get more of what you want, more of what you want, more of what you want. This is also very much tied into the whole law of attraction. The most common addiction in North America is, in my opinion, sweeteners and refined carbohydrates. And if you eat a typical North American diet and you don't think you're addicted to it, take a challenge. So I encourage all of you, go for 1 week and do not read every label. Do not eat anything that contains any kind of sweetener, artificial or traditional, or any refined starches and carbohydrates of any kind, and see how you feel. See if you can go a week. I bet you can't even get through the day, because that's how I used to be. But I'm not anymore. I'm free now. Thank God I am free. But only by testing it out are you going to get any kind of an honest appraisal of your own addictions. The measure of your discomfort is the same measure of your addiction. So if you go a day without your addiction and you're freaking out, completely freaking out, that is how addicted you are. So I really encourage everyone, you don't have to stay on a healthy eating program, but just try it. Try it for a week. Say, make up your mind you're going to try it for a week. And you may only last 2 days. You may only last an hour. But at least then you know, are you addicted? Pretty much. You hear all these things about, cocaine and heavy drugs and heroin. Well, of course, I would never do any of those. But I'm just saying, you hear a lot about them and how addictive they are and how destructive they are. Meanwhile, nobody's talking about the sweeteners, including the artificial sweeteners. Nobody's talking about the fast food. All of those things have been engineered to addict you. These are lessons that were learned from the cigarette industry. And again, I recommend that you go and watch. The discomfort experienced is fertile ground for growth and healing. Oh, you'll never be so honest with yourself as when you're withdrawing from addictions. And I recommend that you watch the Quantum Health Transformation 2.0 Step 5 primer and live videos, because it's all about food and finding out what is real food and what isn't. So just to continue a little more, I'm not suggesting that we live as monks, although this is always an option. But experiment with cessation and let your own internal wisdom surface. What I mean by cessation is just stop the things that you have the habit of using, even if you're not in touch with your addictions yet. Just stop and see how you feel. Take it slowly, one addiction or distraction at a time, and have compassion for yourself, as backsliding seems to be part of the recovery process. Oh, absolutely. I cannot tell you how many times I quit smoking before I quit smoking for good. It took me years to get over and off the addictive substances that I had identified as food. Years. It took me years. It's often 2 steps forward, 1 back. No wonder people quit and give up. They go, why bother? But you're worth it. You're worth it to stick it out long enough to see what's on the other side, and it'll blow your mind, and you'll start living in a way that you've never lived before and have possibilities that you never dreamed were possible before. And these things will open you up so that you can make contact, which is what this lesson is really all about. So the good news is that each day or minute or second is a chance for a do-over. So don't just go, oh, I cheated and I ate a bunch of chocolate bars. I just couldn't handle it. Now I guess I better quit. No, get back on the wagon. Get back on the wagon. Forgive yourself and get back onto it. So now I want to talk a little bit about my understanding of the subconscious mind. And I've got an image here which has basically a circle within a circle within a circle within a circle. Our subconscious contains everything that we've ever experienced via total sensory input, our current collective consciousness, which means part of our subconscious is connected to everybody else's, and the Akashic Records, or living library, which contains everything we have ever experienced as humans throughout time. It's all there. So you can imagine you have to have something that filters that information and what lets in what you want it to let in and disregards the rest. It's just too much. It would blow your mind. So at the very center of your subconscious mind, we've got everything that we experience, sense, and learn. It's all there. And that is nestled into our common and our group consciousness, which means everything everybody experiences, senses, and learns is also there. That's nestled into the Akashic Records, which is also known as the living library. And it's all through time. It's all there. And that is nestled into the subconscious mind. So it's pretty substantial, and you want to make friends with your subconscious mind. It is the fastest and best way that you can start having these intuitive experiences, receive downloads. Not all of them are crazy making. A lot of them are just small, and they really help people a lot. And you'll also have even your cravings and the things you desire will start to change as you give different aspects of your subconscious mind a chance to come in and play and party with you. And it's just amazing. So since it's clear that it is in our best interest to enhance the communication to and from our subconscious resources, let's explore some of the ways that we can communicate. So once we have dealt with all the stuff we've covered so far in the lesson, and even as we're pursuing that course, we're going to start finding out that we're going to start having the most magical and wonderful and lovely experiences that come from tapping into the spiritual realms. So ways that we can communicate are through visions, dreams, both lucid and while asleep, coincidences, synchronicities, and spontaneous knowledge, which we call our intuition, are the most obvious ways our subconscious communicates with our consciousness. So for me, yes, I have visions. A vision can hit me at any time doing anything. It's usually, I can't explain. Okay, so when I have a vision, like if I was having a vision right now, I'd still be sitting here. I'd still be aware that, well, basically, no, I would be sitting here. And even though my eyes are open, I would not see my computer. I would not see the room. I wouldn't see the lamp. I wouldn't see my monitor. I wouldn't see my camera. Instead, I would be completely immersed in the vision. And usually visions don't last long, but the information they contain is much bigger than what we would perceive as the short period of time that it happened. So for instance, I have had all kinds of visions. I've had visions of future timelines. Some of them are coming true. Some of them I hope don't come true. Some of them are very positive. Some of them are not so positive. A lot of them are warnings. So for instance, I've had a vision of where virtual reality is taking us. And my guides were very clear that I am never allowed to put on the headset or the goggles. I am never, ever allowed to do virtual reality or augmented reality. And the reason is, and doesn't necessarily carry over to any of you, but the reason I can't do that is because it will distort the truth of the visions that I see. It will distort my dreams. It will distort my reality so that I can't depend on my messages from my higher self or from my guides anymore, or from my ancestors. I won't be able to tell. It will be confusing. And so since I rely very much on my spiritual contact for everything, every breath I breathe and everything I do, I would definitely not do that because of the warning that I got. Another vision that I had was the returning of the giants. And that was incredible. I've made podcasts about a lot of my visions. But when I'm having a vision, I am completely immersed in the vision. I am seeing it happen all around me with full color, sound, everything. Some people may say it's a hallucination. I don't think it's a hallucination because I've had so much validation that what I saw in the vision could actually come true or is coming true, or whatever the warning is. Generally, visions for me are more warnings than anything else. And then there's dreams. I don't remember most of my sleeping dreams. Please do check out my videos about my ET and angelic experiences. At first I thought I may have been dreaming, but I realized there's no way I could have been dreaming because of all the validation I get. but I tend to dream mostly while I'm awake. I have lucid dreams. It's very easy for me to have lucid dreams, and that seems to be tied in somewhat with missing time for me. So a lucid dream can happen anytime, but I've never had visions or dreams in a situation where it would be unsafe, like driving a car or walking home from the mall or anything like that. No, generally they happen when I'm at home, and generally they happen when I'm alone or just with my cat. So for me, lucid dreams are I'm sitting there and my eyes are open, I'm fully conscious, I'm doing something, watching a program, something like that, and boom, it's like an overlay over top of everything else. And it runs like a short video. And it's usually information that I need or information my guides want me to have comes about through lucid dreams. But also I have a little bit of control when I'm lucid dreaming, so I can actually alter it while I'm there. So, but sometimes I'm just so taken aback by the richness of the experience, I don't think to try to maneuver myself, or I don't have a reason to motivate me to maneuver myself within that dream. And but I think that's something I would like to look more into in the future. Then there's coincidences and synchronicities. And when you see enough of them, you just know, generally coincidences and synchronicities serve as confirmation of that I'm on the right path or that I'm doing the right thing. And a really common synchronicity is to look at the clock and see 11:11 or 2:22 or something like that. And then there's also spontaneous knowledge or intuition. And your intuition just lets you know. Things just give you a no feeling or a yes feeling. And that can act as protection. That can also put us in the right place at the right time. And what I've been practicing, instead of analyzing with my mind, should I do this? Shouldn't I do that? It's just, how does it make me feel? If it's attracting me with a very strong yes feeling, I run towards it. And if it's given me a no feeling, I give it the swerve. There are some things that I do that give me sort of a no feeling, but I do them anyway. And that's things that I really want to do. For instance, when I really, really wanted to start my podcasts, I was terrified. I got big no feeling. I wanted to run away from it all, but I really wanted to do it. And so I did it anyway, and it worked in my favor. So that's another way. These are all ways that our subconscious and our conscious minds have this interplay. And I think it also includes some of our glands and all kinds of things. But the messages are real and important, but the aesthetics and the delivery systems are self-generated through our imagination. So that's why, again, I believe we need to have a healthy lifestyle. We need to decalcify our pineal gland. So our pineal gland, as I've described before, is a really funky little gland. The inside of it are coated with rods and cones, which are what our eyes use for us to be able to interpret the light that comes into our eyes. So it's the rods and cones that pick up, the shape of my monitor or my computer or my lamp. And then I interpret those signals within my brain to go, oh, that's my monitor. Oh, that's my computer, right? So the same thing goes with our messages from our higher self or our guides. They can come in a whole bunch of different ways, but they're all coming in through a self-generated imaginary process that is housed within our brains and our glands. Oh, I didn't finish about the pineal gland, sorry. So those same rods and cones are inside our pineal gland. So why would we have receptors for visual within this small gland? Because what happens is the subconscious higher realms, that's how they use that to communicate with us. And the gland actually produces gases that form mists and things that our mind interprets as data so that we can understand what we're seeing on an intuitive level. But again, you need a healthy body. You need to examine your beliefs. There's so much that you need to do. So this kind of communication involves altering the receiver wavelength as it's set up in our brains. And one of the most powerful methods that I know of is to eat unadulterated blue-green algae, marine phytoplankton, raw, fresh, organic vegetables, fruits, seeds, and nuts with wild and superfoods at the top of the list. So all of these things are going to give you what you need to bring in for a healthful brain, so that all these other things are going to work so the communication can happen. And then, of course, we already covered what you want to get away from, which is preventing you from that communication. Man-made chemicals, processed and junk foods gum up the brain system, making it difficult to communicate with the self or even to think clearly. Now, just as a side note, some people have had great success with medicines naturally produced by our loving planet, and these are called psychedelics. So there's ibogaine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, cannabis. This is just to name a few of the options, but I'm not recommending them because they are beyond the scope of this primer. So I want you to do your own research and learn what they're really about. So you can find some documentaries about ibogaine. Ibogaine is from a tree in Africa. And when a person takes ibogaine, they have a very strong hallucinatory experience that completely detoxifies their brains, so they no longer are addicted. So ibogaine is ideal for people who want to quit smoking cigarettes, get off heroin, cocaine, things like that. That's what ibogaine is generally used for. And I believe it's legal in Canada for therapeutic use. And then, of course, there's ayahuasca, and I'm sure you all know about ayahuasca. I've never done ayahuasca. I've never had to do ibogaine. I've never done ayahuasca. I'm very sensitive to psychedelics. They make me really, really sick. They detoxify my brain and my body, and they make me so sick. It completely ruins the experience. So I don't do them. Psilocybin, I do have some experience with psilocybin. Not the most pleasant of experiences, but they definitely have a positive effect that lingers. And I have done microdosing. So when you microdose, you're taking less than what your mind is even perceiving. You have no hallucinations at all, but it still has a very, very strong detoxification effect on the brain. And I took it with vitamin B3, and I took it with lion's mane, and I did it 4 days on, 3 days off for a month. And I just did that in January or February, I guess, of 2023. Oh my God, it really helped. It really helped quieten down that noise. It's in my head. It just really helped me to be calmer, definitely calmer. Now, I'm not recommending this because if you haven't done the rest of the work to organize your life and engineer a life that's sustainable and healthful, generally what happens after you do psychedelics, your life very quickly just returns to the way it was before. So none of these are cures, but they are ways that we can improve our lives, but we have to be willing to make the sacrifices. And some people are and some people aren't. Most of us got to wait till we get to the point where we hit our bottom, where there's no lower than we can get. We've lost everything. We're losing our health, or we've had a horrible diagnosis from the doctor, or someone's had to die before we wake up. And unfortunately, that seems to be how it goes. But this information is here when you're ready. And I mean no disrespect by laughing. It's just, I'm laughing at my own life. So the point is that these psychedelics, including cannabis, alter the receiver wavelength of the brain so that there's a free flow of information to and from our subconscious. So those things that block those things are more open in my experience. So I've got some images here. The first one says, speak to your spirit guides. That's right. There is, I guess, kind of a rule in place that beings that are healthful, beneficial, they will not make themselves known in your life unless you ask them to. And the reason is because there's a very strong non-interference. Now, beings that are all interfering without your permission, no, those are nasty piece of work, and you need to banish them from your realm, which is very easy. You just go, look, I don't know who you are or what you're doing, but you're not welcome here, and I banish you from my realm. It's really that simple. So dreams, visions, and intuition are ways that we receive helpful information from our vast subconscious resources. But how can we communicate our needs to the subconscious? So we talked about dreams and visions. These are ways that our subconscious communicates with us. And through our subconscious, our guides, our higher self, angels, all that communicate as well. So, but how can we communicate to it? Well, you can just talk to it, first of all, and you can make decisions on what you want and don't want in your life. But a really powerful method is through meditation. It strengthens the ties between the conscious and the subconscious self and facilitates two-way communication. So I've got an image of below here, for those of you who are on audio, of someone who's meditating. And they're maybe just starting their meditation, and at that point they're able to send information out, but there isn't much coming in. But with continued meditation, you're able to send information out and receive as well. And this also is very much tied into your chakra systems. And I've got an image here of I don't know if it's an EEG, of someone's brain 10 minutes before they meditate and 10 minutes after they meditate. And you can see their brain is just calmed right down. When you calm that noise down, then you can hear those previously imperceptible kind of messages. I'm at the point now where I've been doing this for so long, I can just speak to my guides, and I'll often do it out loud, and I'll just speak to them. I'll say, why is this, or why is that, or I don't understand this. A really good example would be over the last 3 years where everything just seems to be going to hell in a handbasket. And I say to my guides out loud, I'm tired of this. I want the children protected. I want people to find out the truth. This is enough. Why is this still going on? You know, I know there's all these unseen forces that can help. You know, why are you just letting us stew in the cesspit of society right now? And my guides, it just came instantly to me, and I'm putting it in words, but it didn't come to me in words. It came to me just in like a really sharp realization. And that was, Karen, this will all stop when everybody's awake. But until people awake, this is what it's going to take. And it's so true. I mean, 1.5 years ago, there was all kinds of people who had good jobs and good, middle-class lives. And, they were annoyed or not happy about the mandates and stuff. But then what happened is, when it affected their livelihoods and they had a choice between leaving their jobs and having no income or following the mandates, people's eyes got open. They went, wow, wait a minute, is this Canada? What happened? And so on and it goes. And so people are waking up every single day. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cruelty and horrible stuff that's going on all along, waiting for people to wake up. So I think it's better if people wake up, but some people never will. And that's just how it is. So I have here a little outline. It's called the Meditation for Health. I actually got this from, who did I get this from? Deepak Chopra. And I'll tell you who has another one very similar to this is Greg Braden and those guys. And they teach you how to achieve heart-brain coherence. So there's a couple ways of doing it. And I'm just going to quickly run through this way of doing it, but you can do some research on heart-brain coherence. Check out the Heart Math Institute for the actual scientific evidence that this actually works. And some of your other rock stars like Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and who's the other one? I'm missing one. But anyway, I'm sure you know who it is. So I call this a meditation for health. So what you do is you just sit comfortably and you with your feet not touching, and you open your hands, but they're not touching. So I usually put my palms up and the back of my hands rest on my knees. And close your eyes and then think about your heart, and then think about something that makes you feel grateful and love. So I may want to think about my kitty. I may want to think about my son or my daughter or somebody else. It just fills me with love and gratitude, and just sit with that for a couple of minutes. And then ask yourself, which could also be your subconscious and your higher self, just ask some simple questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What will make me happy? Because those are things that your higher self wants for you. When you're asking, you're now communicating and you're putting it out there. And after you've done that, whether you get an answer or not, that's okay. Then go back to thinking about your heart and be aware of all your body sensations. Are your toes relaxed? How do your feet and ankles feel? Are your arms comfortable? Is your neck relaxed? And is your face soft and let go of any hardness or tension we might be holding there? What's going on in our body? And then we want to listen for or feel our actual heartbeat. That puts us in connection with our heart chakra, which very much is much more powerful actually than our brains. And it helps us to achieve what we call heart-brain coherence. And when the two are working together, there's nothing you can't do. And after you've done that for a few minutes, just stretch and yawn and open your eyes. So I don't consider myself any kind of a spiritual guru, but I would like to recommend some who you may see as spiritual gurus, like Deepak Chopra, Michael Bernard Beckwith, Eckhart Tolle. There's so many out there, and you can watch some of their videos, and they'll teach you how to calm your mind and ways to get back in connection with your whole self. Now, since the interplay between our subconscious and our conscious selves is uniquely personal, we can create within our imagination any format which facilitates communication. So why not make it enjoyable and base it on a template that makes sense to you? Some people have had great success with creating their own spirit guides or soul team. Now, you're not creating the spirit guides, but you're creating a soul team or a spiritual guides team by inviting different forces into your life. In short, a soul team is a group of beings which communicate via your imagination. Angels, ancestors, extraterrestrials, Buddha consciousness are just a few examples. Oh, I forgot a few. Learned scholars from days gone by, our higher self, Christ, Buddha consciousness are just a few examples. And there's no limit, and you can change any format at any time, just like choosing a theme for your PC. That is your life, your body, and your mind. Why not customize it? Now, I change the format on my PC all the time. And over time, I've changed the format of my soul team to include everything. Everything that's good and benevolent, I want in my life. So I invited in angels. I invited in my ancestors. I invited in ET. And I even invited in learned scholars from days gone by. So, and then of course there's Christ or Buddha consciousness, and that's part of the ascension process. And that is a way where rather than waiting for Christ or Buddha to come back and fix everything, we become Christ and Buddha conscious. So what that means is those energies can manifest through us and in our lives. They become externalized through us. Some people fear a loss of control, but this has never been my experience. Junk and processed foods, along with mainstream media, are most likely to generate fear, anxiety, depression, and poor decision-making rather than anything I have mentioned in this video. So what I mean by that is some people are all worried, well, if I just open myself up, maybe demons are going to come into my life and bad things and something terrible is going to happen. And, that's why all the churches kind of poo-poo it and make us afraid, because it's dangerous. It's danger. We can't think of on our own. We can't form our own spirituality. It could be terribly dangerous. And I have never found anything dangerous, anything dangerous in my life from the other realms. Now, when I get something from the other realms that I'm not comfortable with, I don't wait to find out what it is. I just banish it. You're not welcome here. Leave my realm. And so it is. I just make up my mind. It's gone. And I refuse to acknowledge it in any way, and it's gone. But that's very, very rarely ever happened to me. And I find that more dangerous to that is, like I said, junk and processed food, mainstream media. Those things cause fear, anxiety, depression, and poor decision making. So when you're functioning on a higher level, you don't have that problem anymore. I've got a little image here that says you can spend a lifetime trying to be one with the Great Spirit, or simply focus on love and realize that you already are. It was interesting early in my journey, I'd say around 2005. It was after my angelic experience, but before my extraterrestrial experiences. And I was communicating with my higher self or my guides. Maybe it's both. I don't know. It's not always distinguishable. And I don't really worry about distinguishing it. It's not like I have to have little compartments that everything has to fit into. It doesn't. And what I was told when I said, I don't know if I'm the right material to become, open for this. I don't know if I'm, smart enough or spiritual enough. I don't know. I was really doubting, whether or not I was even able to reach enlightenment. I thought that was for some special people that had devoted their whole lives and not been a bit of a screwy mess the way my life was. And it was really interesting what I was told. What I was told was that I didn't have to add anything to my life. All I had to do was strip away what I didn't need, what didn't fit, that wasn't me and wasn't meant for me. So it was more of a letting go than a taking in. I thought that was super interesting. And as my life has progressed, I found it to be absolutely true. Just stripping off what the world has told me and putting back in what I have found from within. So some people might be wondering, is there room for God? And it makes sense to me that an almighty and compassionate universal spirit would make its presence known regardless of our state of consciousness. Perhaps God is involved in all that I have mentioned in this primer. Again, it's up to you. Rather than reject specific spiritual beliefs, I prefer to learn from all of them. And so what I'm saying by this is maybe universal consciousness or universal spirit or God or whatever you want to call it is present in everything, is present everywhere. I do a talk about Holy Spirit, which is a little bit beyond this scope of this video, but if I get another cancellation in the near future, I'll do that for you, where I talk about what is Holy Spirit. It's known as chi, prana, 0 point. It's everywhere. We're swimming in it. And a universal, compassionate, universal spirit or consciousness would be able to make contact with us regardless of our present state of consciousness. So we see this often when people are in extremes of crisis and people who experience miracles. So although I have suggested you do all these things to help you to become better integrated with your subconscious and your higher self, the truth of the matter is, even at any point of your path, from the very beginning to the very end and everything in between, which is basically life, being born until you die, universal spirit is there for you. And you don't have to go hunting for it. You don't have to join a bunch of religions and churches to find it. It's just there. It's your gift. It's your gift that comes with being alive on this planet. So I have personally experienced and witnessed universal tender mercy, which is kind of how I view God. And I believe this powerful force for good is available to all who seek it. I have done my best to demystify teachings that have historically been kept within the realm of arcane or esoteric knowledge through the 9 steps to quantum health transformation. This knowledge is not fantasy. Through spontaneous knowledge or downloads and intuition, universal love has provided the experiences necessary for me to create the 9 steps and to improve my life significantly. In conclusion, let your higher self bring you the learning experiences essential for your highest good. create a framework to facilitate access to the spirit guides of your choice and the ability to access the Akashic records or the living library and beyond. I've done my best to explain these concepts in universal terms and will continue this conversation in upcoming videos with my own personal experiences. The subconscious mind is complex but not inaccessible. Develop strategies to improve your mind's gatekeeping system by adjusting your locator to make best use of your hidden data. Just as you care about yourself, your subconscious mind also cares for you because it is a part of you. Experience one of the most powerful ways to influence the system through the 9 steps to quantum health transformation. And next, watch the live version of this video and good health to you. And you can find it, of course, on my website. And this is the end of this primer. And as I mentioned before, please feel free to contact me for more information or for assistance with your wellness program. And I'm grateful to all the beings and all the forces that assist me with the production of this 9-step online course. And the course is absolutely free. Now, if you'd like to support my work, please purchase some of my beautiful Zen Domes orgonites. This is my own unique line of orgone generators. I created them, or I basically created what I wanted, and then a friend of mine actually made them for me. So these are very unique. I only have maybe 10 of some items and maybe 3 of others, or maybe 1 of something else. And when they're gone, they're gone, because my friend sadly is not making them anymore, and I have not been able to find anyone to work with in the meantime. So please do that. Of course, you could always send me a donation if you want. There's many expenses attached to having a podcast. And for some reason, Facebook is not monetizing me. And I'm not sure I want them to monetize me, because I find it so annoying to be watching a good podcast and every 5 minutes it's stopping for a stupid, lame-ass commercial and then gets back to the program. I find it very, very, very frustrating. So I may not get monetized. So anyway, long story short, yes, if you want to be generous and help me out, that'd be great. And if you don't, that's okay too. I'm going to keep producing the information. So I'm going to stop the share there. And I want to thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate you joining me on both my shows. So I have, of course, the Quantum Guide show, which is, nope, wrong way. Everything's backwards on the screen. So that would be that show, the one you're watching now. And then I also have Aliens and Angels, which is a new podcast I started recently. It's very exciting because everybody who's either a guest or myself have had angelic and or extraterrestrial experiences. So although I do appreciate all the research going on out there, that show is going to feature people who've actually had experiences and want to share their experiences. And you can find me on all the popular podcasts. I'm at Karen Holton TV is my brand. On the other side here, oops, that side. I got my certificates and my degree, and my certificate and my degree, and picture me when I graduated. So you can see that that I'm an educated nutter, not just an ordinary kind. But anyway, be that as it may, I guess that's about it for today's session. And next week we're going to have back, who's back next week? Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, the lovely Aurora Seraphine. And we're going to get back into food, and we're going to talk all about food and so many things that people just don't even know about food. A lot of people don't even know what's real food and what isn't. So that'll be really interesting. And yeah. And for the other show, Aliens and Angels, I've got booked Dolly Saffron, who is a fully conscious extraterrestrial experiencer. So I know you'll want to come back and see that. But I guess that's about it for today. And I'm going to go out and see if the sun's out yet. Oh, we've had a couple of overcast days and lots of thunderstorms, which I love. I love the energy of a thunderstorm. But then after a while, it's nice to have the sun back too. So anyway, I hope you all have a really good week. And I wish you all the best. I love you very much. And I always will. You can depend on that. Anytime you feel down, just watch one of my podcasts and just fast forward it to the part where I'm going, I love you guys. I love you guys. Yeah. And I'm working on some other stuff, but I'm not going to tell you until after it's ready. So that'll be cool too. So anyway, so I guess that's it for today, everybody. I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Thank you for joining us on the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels. Like this video and share it with your friends. You can also find the Quantum Guide Show and my other podcast called Aliens and Astrology on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. That's www.forbiddenknowledge.news. And while you're at it, check out my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com, where you will find some amazing products and services and an abundance of free resources to help you with your journey. All of the links are in the description below. And in the meantime, until we see you next week, keep up the good work.
Puts all my inner strife to rest, for time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less, and the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play. It's okay. It's okay.